Hi, this is Brian with King Grizzly, and today I wanted to take a relatively brief look at taking good care of a WordPress site, mostly from the hosting side of things. There's a lot involved with taking care of a website, but I wanted to look primarily at what we call active management or site management. So oftentimes there's some confusion about what that actually is, right? With our clients, that's actually a mandatory. Clients who do WordPress projects with us, build with us. We build in this management, but I think the confusion is oftentimes like, hey, are you just buying hosting? Like a regular affordable host, like say GoDaddy, and then just marking that up and making me pay monthly for that. Like, what is that? I think it's a good question. Also, I think for other web designers and developers who are wondering what's the best way to be taking care of these sites, you might be able to pick up a couple ideas here. And I was an interactive art director for some time at a large publisher. We managed quite a few WordPress sites at once. And as many of us are aware, WordPress sites often have updates that need to happen, and WordPress sites can get hacked from time to time, just like any website can. So there's some best practices to put in place to ensure that a website doesn't get blown up or that it can be recovered if there's a problem. So I wanted to just kind of look at our process. So this is our site. I'll hop into the back end here. And as you can see, when I get into my dashboard, I've got some nags here, little orangey red circles, which all WordPress site owners are used to. This means we've got some updates due. It could be to our theme, it could be to the WordPress software itself, or it could be to plugins, which in my case, it looks like today I've got some plugin updates. So I've got an update to my builder, an add-on. Looks like I have an update to an SEO plugin. So I need to make those. And so first thing we'll think about is if I click update, what's going to happen? Probably this plugin will update. And plugins basically, for those who don't know, just kind of extend the functionality of WordPress. That's partially why it's so great. But if I click update, what if that plugin has an issue, like the developer made a mistake, or it doesn't play nice with the latest version of WordPress? If I'm doing this on my live website, like if I'm doing this on kinggrizzly.com and there's a problem, then what happens is I've suddenly got this public problem, right? Like my site breaks, some kind of issue along those lines. So that begs the question, well, where are we supposed to make these updates without the risk of breaking our public site, right? And the same goes for updating the WordPress software or installing a new plugin. We don't want to do that on a public site, right? So that brings up hosting on multiple environments. So you could, I guess, in theory, copy your website down to your local computer, test your changes there, and then try to copy it back up. That would be a real pain. But for serious businesses, you want to have what's called a development environment. And there's more premium type WordPress hosts that offer multi-environment. So we use Pantheon. You've probably heard possibly of WP Engine. There's some other sort of comparable WordPress-centric hosts available. And the other competitors offer some solutions like GoDaddy and SiteGround. We've found that Pantheon, for what we're interested in and the types of clients we work with, tends to be the most sort of premium, but also like just fully featured, really powerful, great support. There's serious companies running this. I mean, like Yale, like real. Here you go, Yale, United Nations, Lyft, IBM. This is serious hosting. It's container based. I won't get into what that is, but we use this, and let's take a look at when I log in to our admin on our hosting. We have a dev, test, and a live site. So for all of our clients, this is what we're doing behind the scenes. You can see I've got this history of updates I've been making in the private development environment. And you can actually see here, these are some recent changes I've made. They didn't happen in the public eye, right? So if I look through here, what was this? Looks like I updated the Elementor plugin. So what I can actually do is I can make a comment about what happened here. So it's like, I updated the Elementor plugin. I could even well, it's got my name on it already. And then what I can do is I can commit that. So what I'm going to do is I'm moving these changes I made privately forward towards this testing environment. And then on the testing environment, what we'll do is we're actually going to combine the live site. So like a client could potentially be adding new blog posts, new content to their live site. So what I want to do is ensure that any changes that were made to the live site, could be even like e-commerce accounts that were created, logins for new customers, donations that were made. We don't want to accidentally overwrite those. Like some hosts, they actually will claim that they have a development environment, but really what it is you take your live site, you clone it to this sort of staging environment, you make changes, and then what they have you do is clone right back over your live site. Well, what if it took you an hour to make changes, or what if it took you 2 days or a week, and then you clone that over the live site? Anything that happened on the live site while you were working in staging or development is going to be overwritten. That's bad, right? So what we have here, these are true mirrors of each other. So what I can do is I can say, hey, I want to take the live kinggrizzly.com, all of it, the files and the database. I want to copy it back to test, and then I want to combine it with these updates I just pushed forward. So basically what I'd be testing here is I want to see if this updating this Elementor plugin is going to play nice with the live site. Because if it works here, it'll work on the live site. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy that code. And while that's happening, I'll point out every environment, we have the ability to run backups. So we have automated backups running. You can see there's this workflow running in the background. It's really cool. But I've got backups running here on a schedule. And then we actually go one step further, which I won't show you today, but we keep a second layer, a redundant offsite backup that's outside of our host. So if something went terribly wrong with Pantheon, we've got yet another layer of backup for our clients and ourselves, just in case of worst case. But usually if something went horribly wrong, we could restore here. It's also possible to download the code, the database, the files. I can go back to test. I can dump this caching. So caching is another great feature. It helps the site load way faster for people. So like once one person visits a site, it's sort of like the files get saved globally. Actually, it's localized on something called a content delivery network. So if somebody downloads our site in Europe, then the next person from Europe who goes to get it, they're actually probably going to get sort of like non-dynamic stuff, like pictures are already pre-cached nearby them geographically, actually, so that the site loads so much faster. But I'm going to clear my cache to make sure that what I just committed is I'm seeing the latest. Then I can visit my test site, take a look here, and then I can just browse through the site, and I'll be looking, for any mistakes. And we also have automated ways to check pixel by pixel to see, hey, was there any change across the whole site before and after we made changes? Because it's hard as a human to go check every single page. So we have ways to try to have a backup to check that nothing looks different. And if nothing looks different, then we can be confident, okay, I'm going to go to live and I'm going to deploy the code. Looks like I've got a couple pending deploys of updates that I can do to live. And typically what we do as part of our workflow is we always create a new backup before we push any of those live. So that's a look at the hosting. And actually this hosting has something called multi-dev. If we wanted to develop, let's say we wanted to develop a whole new section for a client, like an e-commerce section or a huge blog or something new, we can actually create a different environment out here where we clone the live site over here. We start working on something new, but in the meantime, we keep this dev test live flow where we can be pushing any changes up. So we're not basically bottlenecking ourselves and not putting out security updates and things like that. So that's a look at the hosting. I'll go ahead just to show if I were to update Elementor here on dev. Take a moment. Okay, that's updated. If I go back to dev and I go to code, we can see, all right, I've got some changes here. It's the Elementor plugin once again. I can write a commit and so on and so forth. If we hop back into the site, we take other measures. So for example, security plugins, right? So the site itself, we like this Defender Pro plugin. And it just helps it keep the site secure. It also helps us remember to update certain things. Like security keys, we won't really go into that, but we can actually look at, yeah, so my security keys are way too old on this site. It's time to update them. So I can actually say, yeah, I want to regenerate these keys. I won't do that at the moment because it's going to log me out. So we have error reporting. We also have the ability to be notified if something goes wrong. We have the ability to lock out people by IP. So if it looks like a bot is trying to log in to a site or someone's trying to do something malicious, we have ways to protect our clients. So these are just some of the pieces we use to take care of our clients, but that's what we mean by active management or managed hosting. It's a proactive approach to websites to keep the site backed up, secure, and up to date. So if there's more to it that in the actual WordPress themes that we build, there's some configurations that we're putting in place as well. Won't get into that today, but I think if you can get onto a multi-environment hosting like this, like Pantheon, that's just a really smart risk mitigation step for a modern business. Just sort of protecting your digital assets. You'll also get way better performance out of hosting like this. And I think that's probably a good place to stop for today. But hopefully that provides some education around the value of management. So it's really the investment is in the management more so. I mean, the hosting is a piece of it, right? So you get a better host compared to some of the bargain hosts that tend to be slower, but you're also getting security and sort of like an insurance, so to speak, for your business or your clients, if you're developing websites. So we recommend something like Pantheon or a comparable other provider. All right, hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.